Well, it's interesting you say that. I mean, when I was doing some reading up for this discussion, I was quite surprised how large some of the numbers were. So the number I used at the outset there are an estimated 16 million people at 15 and over, almost completely lacking in online skills. Another recent news story for the Digital Champions Network for Housing, which is a group of housing associations that have come together to provide digital literacy skills for their tenants. It's mentioned that there are 4.1 million people in social housing currently not online at all.
Yeah.
It sounds like you've come across that. That's reflected in your experiences. Would that be right?
At NIACE, we've been doing some work with civil housing providers, but one particular one in the East Midlands, and we've been working with some digital champions to actually go and work with residents and tenants directly to look at the issues about getting them online. And again, there's a whole variety of things that people want to do, all the way through from they want to talk to their family in Australia and want to use some kind of online medium to do so, all the way through to housing benefit. And of course, the universal credit agenda means that people who claim things like housing benefit are going to have to get online because it's digital by default.
Yes, absolutely.
One of the things, your point about people getting online, we are as a nation moving towards a much elderly base of the population, and this need to become online in social housing, even in residential homes, will be critical for our older population, because through that one of the most serious issues is loneliness, and being online and being able to Skype and being able to communicate across with a broad range of people comes back to this need for everyone to be digitally literate, not just our young people, but through the generations.
And also the people who are prepping them for it. So
yes.
the institutions, the guiders, all need to be digitally literate, not just as individuals, but also as the organisation. So for example, if you're in a housing provider but there's no connectivity, that can be an issue to people's digital literacy. And I'm sure Josie will agree that in schools as well, there's a lot of work that needs to be done to get different schools up to the same level.
Yeah, I think that digital literacy is a kind of itself is a very contested kind of term, and there's a lot of discussion about what digital literacy actually means. For me, I think there's a kind of a baseline of digital literacy that you would want people as citizens to be able to engage in those kinds of practices. But there's also, I think, specific roles that benefit from specific types of digital literacy. So the project that I'm working on at the moment in Leicester with Leicester secondary school teaching staff, teaching support staff, looks at what digital literacy means in the context of being a secondary school teacher. And that's a slightly different set of skills. So for example, you would expect them to be able to make the most of technologies in terms of providing assessment and feedback and some specialised areas. But I think everybody will benefit from being able to critically engage with online environments, being able to communicate, being able to look after their own reputation and protect themselves.
Oh, I'm glad you made that point, because that's one of the things from my perspective. You spoke about digital footprint, is having this common sense approach to what you're making available in this worldwide environment. Yeah. And it's important, if that's going through into the curriculum, that there is this protectiveness around their own reputation. We've seen how young people have fallen from grace because of their inappropriate use of social media, and we don't want that for our young people. We want them to have an awareness of what's appropriate behaviour, because they are going to go out into the world of work, and I certainly don't want to read on someone's Twitter account or Facebook or the various avenues that we have a little nose around that we can do legitimately as an employer, and find that actually every Saturday night they talk about being out with their friends and not arriving home, or in one of these tanks that they're talking.
But I think reputation management's an issue for people of all ages. I don't think it's just young people that do foolish things.
I think no.
I think there's many older people that
we
should know a bit
have
better.
a chance to influence them, though, and that's the point I'm making, because they are being exposed into an environment that certainly from my generation we never had. When you get to a certain age, you have to take responsibility for yourself. Our young people need some guidance, and that's what I'm hoping our education system is going to do for them as we're moving through a programme of making them competent in a digital world.
But it works both ways, doesn't it? I mean, on the one hand, they could be putting up embarrassing things which damage their reputation, but on the other hand, they could be building up their reputation by putting positive professional things.
And this is where appropriateness comes into it. And now a colleague at an event I was at shared with me a situation where a young girl working for a very large corporation had left her handbag with her purse at home. So she had her phone with her. It seems phones are about us wherever we are. And she Facebooked her friend, I can't get into the office. I've not got the security code. Can you send it to me? Where did that security code end up? On her Facebook page for the world and his wife to see. And that's the kind of education. It's very hard, and that's a one-off situation, but I think it's important that element of understanding the importance of being digitally aware and this reputation that you spoke of, Josie. It's really important for us to be able to engender that in the young people coming through our system.
I agree.
Yeah. There's a follow-up to that though as well, not just around the professional side of things, but around consent and around what's happening to your information. So not just what's being collected on store cards, but what's being collected generally through little things that we might do. So I've bought a tube ticket today to get here, you know, my credit card will have that logged. If somebody you decided to use that information, they'd know I'd gone to London today. Now maybe that wouldn't matter, but maybe it would. But I think if people are going to engage with digital technology every day, they have to have an understanding that that information is there and that it's stored. And that's another awareness that needs to be there.
I think there's a huge urgency around some elements of digital literacy with regard to the reconfiguration of what privacy means.
Yes.
About data ownership, data management, data tracking, around those issues that, you know, anybody who's seen a newspaper in the last month will know how urgent those kinds of issues and debates are currently at the moment, not just in this country but internationally. And informed people are needed so that we can actually engage with those discussions and that we can look at things. So privacy in this country is a really, really important one, because our definition of privacy is a reasonable expectation. And that's been transformed, I think, by the kinds of information that people are prepared to put on themselves about themselves online, the kinds of information that other people are prepared to put about you online. So it's a really, really critical area for us to be able to get to grips with in a really informed way.
There was an excellent video debate on this very website that this will be on shortly. Privacy versus intelligence, the requirements of companies to have intelligence to work with and the requirements of individuals to have their privacy, which you're all welcome to watch afterwards.